driving down the costs. Well, I mean, part of it would be that it would have to be built into the metrics, right? I mean, it basically, you couldn't get aid for your institution if it went above a certain basically, I think that we would focus on first driving down the costs by providing them with the resources that were going into the student vouchers, right? So first, providing money to do it. And secondly, constraining them in terms of the growth to something like CPI or you know, something else. I know there's the higher education price index, but I think it's self-serving. So I mean, I think that this is where the devil's in all of the details, and I don't mean that to sound as, you know, sort of putting it off as it does sound, of course, but I have to say that the lift, just even in terms of turning the conversation, I have to say, is a fairly big one. So, I mean, if there are interests in doing something like this, lots of bright people need to get together and work on those pieces of it, because turning the tide would be by itself, just even having interest in that direction, something that has taken a long time. Now, David, I mean, I certainly think, and we lay out in the paper, that they were talked about all the time. But in fact, even Alice Rivlin herself wrote in her book that, you know, there was concern about this aid to institutions because we didn't know much about the behavior and the behavioral changes of institutions. Well, we now have 40 years of watching behaviors of institutions and of states, and we have a lot more evidence there. So I think that part of it, it seems to me at the time, was that, you know, and again, not being there, it certainly, the read seems to be that people understood that costs of educating, for example, the more disadvantaged students were going to be beyond what we were paying for, but a lot of concern about giving these institutions money because of the things they might do with it. What I didn't see a lot of discussion about was accountability metrics. And my suspicion is that's because of the strong role of the lobbies at the time. I mean, these are powerful interests. I mean, I think that, you know, anytime we talk about accountability in higher education, people come and make us aware that that's a really bad idea. And this would be a case where I think we'd have to say, in the interest of all students, we're done listening.